Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the Closing Costs podcast. This is Marta, the host, and I'm here with Sarah Moon with Larkin Fur Realty, a realtor for over 12 years and one of the top producers in Oregon. So thank you so much for joining, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Of course. So, since you are a top producer, the purpose of this call really is to just create a platform to talk about you and your background, so the market trends that you're seeing, and how you overcome daily challenges and your goals for the coming year. Sound good?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so to kick things off, could you share a little bit about your journey as a realtor? It looks like you started off over 12 years ago, right? Changed
Yeah, I'm
brokerages a few
actually
times.
entering my 14th year in November.
14th. Oh,
So,
okay, sorry, I was going on the LinkedIn bio there. Sorry about that.
oh, gotcha.
So
We'll
even
have to
better
look.
than I thought.
Yeah.
So
Well,
tell us about your
okay.
journey.
I come by it honestly. So I had no aspiration to become a realtor, but I'm a third generation realtor in my family. So my grandmother owned Remax West, which was a Remax franchise in West Lynn, like the Lake Oswego, West Lynn area.
Oh, wow.
And when I was younger, I used to spend summers, working in the office and helping out with the other realtors doing like, typing, whatever there needed to be at the time. This was at the time where the MLS was like a book before the internet. And so, it was a much different landscape than we see nowadays. My mother was also a real estate broker in the state of Oregon. And I just it was one of those things where I was like, okay, what's this all about? Do I think I could do it? My mom's like, well, of course you can. We're all doing it. You can do it too. And
Hmm.
so I dipped a toe in just to shadow some realtors to see if it was going to be a good fit. And having come from a customer service background, I felt it was a natural progression, and I really, really enjoy it.
Okay, so you have some family history and lineage, somebody that just like
Yeah,
helped boost you and guide you into this role, which I mean, that's amazing to have somebody like that to lean on that truly does care about your success. Did you
sure.
actually work
Yeah.
closely
Even
with
though
your mother?
No, we're actually in very different markets. One time we crossed over. So she's retired now, but she worked out kind of an hour west of us. So we met in Scappoose once. I was doing a random deal out in Scappoose, and that's where her people were too. So we
That is
crossed
so
paths
funny.
there, but otherwise we're in different markets.
Oh, I see. That's very interesting. So, when you were getting started, did you feel like she had a lot of advice for you and offered some guidance? Like how did she help you like really cut through all the distractions and really focus on the things that helped you achieve success?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing I've learned from my mother is she's excellent with people.
Mm.
Um, she can create rapport with anyone in like 10 seconds flat. Like people love to tell her their life stories, whether we're at the grocery store or just out in public anywhere. And I think that's a really useful skill in creating dynamic relationships that are meaningful. I think my approach to real estate is not a sales approach. I think we get kind of a bad rep as being like used car salespeople sometimes, and I'm probably the least salesy person you'll ever meet. And so I think that's my main takeaway from her is just do right by people, treat them right, and the rest will follow.
Okay, so it sounds like she has a gift for connecting, and you probably have that.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously you do. So you got that as well, and learned to take
Yeah.
an example from that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That is like the first barrier, I feel like, to being an excellent realtor is just like, are you good with people? Like, can you read the room? Can you read their body
Yeah.
language or how they like to be communicated with, even as simple as that, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. And you do have to meet people on their level because some people are really
right.
tech savvy, some people aren't at all. And that's what keeps the job fun, right? It keeps the
Mhm.
flexibility there, provides just a different nuance for every transaction.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just curious to know, I mean, with all the tasks that you do throughout the day, where do you find where you like get into a flow, like get into a groove where you're just like things are just popping, you're being super productive? Like, where is that for you? What do you really love about the job?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is my office right here. This computer is my office. So when I
Yeah.
sit down to it, I just get absorbed in it. And so for me, the flow happens pretty naturally. I'm pretty driven and easily self-managed. I think some people, given the opportunity to mainly work from home, may slack off. But for me, as soon as I open my email, I'm ready to go.
Wow. Okay. So how many hours in the day do you think, do you have a set schedule or do you just sit at the computer until you need to shift to an appointment? You just kind of like go with whatever the demands are of the day, or do you have a structure?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I have a structure, so I check my email at certain times in the day. I always want to sign on kind of first thing in the morning and last thing at night before, before cooking dinner and getting ready for the evening. But it depends on the day. So, yesterday I was at a home inspection for most of the day. I'm checking email throughout on the breaks during that, but mostly it obviously it's client driven. So, if I know somebody's going to need some after hours time, I'll budget that, but mainly, yeah, I guess I kind of answered it.
Yeah, that's a good answer. So transitioning to, I guess, when you are communicating with buyers and sellers, is there any advice that you could give to help buyers in this environment? Maybe they're on the fence, maybe they've been thinking about it. I mean, the rates have kind of ticked down a little bit, but if you could, share a little bit of what you're seeing or how you're helping people find success, can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think the rates conversation is key right now. And I've seen some other realtors putting out some pretty interesting videos talking about the ins and outs of it. I mean, as a realtor, our focus is usually a little bit less on the lending aspect, but I think having some of those guidelines in your, those tips and tricks, those things in your tool belt that you can relay to clients is really important right now because I think most buyers are pretty nervous. Coming off the pandemic rates, they're like, what? It's twice as much. It's like, well, the
Mhm.
pandemic rate was because we're in a global crisis. That's not a realistic rate. And, hovering around 6% is not abnormal. If you take a look at the past, like 30 years worth of interest rates, it's pretty good. That being said, it doesn't help buyers who financially can't get into the market. So we have those conversations about what does a rate buy down look like? Trying to get seller to cover certain concessions. And I find that sellers are a little bit more flexible right now because there's so much inventory. We have, more inventory than the majority of my career over this past year. So I think just cluing people in to how they can still structure a loan, and getting them paired with an awesome lender so that they can understand the ins and outs financially is key.
Okay, well, pause there. What I really would love to hear is like, do you have an example of how you helped a buyer like reach the financial situation to like to get the house of their dreams? Can you think of a recent experience where maybe a rate buy down was involved, or maybe there was a lender who was willing to help? Anything like that that comes to mind?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me think on that. Interestingly enough, I find that sellers are a bit more flexible right now. And so the success stories that I've seen and been a part of for this past year have been mostly with people with a decent chunk of cash so that they have the flexibility as well. But right now I have a buyer under contract who we put in an offer. It was one of those that sat for a while and it was maybe see if we could get a little bit of money off. We're under contract with $35,000 reduction. So I think deals are out there, and now is the time to capture them, being the end of the year where people are getting ready to maybe take their property off the market, or they're incentivized to sell for tax purposes for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is my favorite time of year to shop. So I guess I'm not directly answering your question with a success story, but I think that across the board, um, there's more flexibility in the market than there has been for the majority of the time I've been a realtor.
That makes total sense. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
trend that you're seeing. So that answers the question. So if you had to, on the flip side, since I'm sure you've helped a lot of sellers in the last, few years in this specific market environment, what advice do you have for sellers who are maybe thinking about selling, are a little bit nervous, don't want to take on a higher interest rate? What can you
Yeah.
share?
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to doing a sell and then buying simultaneously, there's a lot of power in that. And I think that, even having the ample funds to get a smaller loan overall can really benefit people financially. Um, as far as the listing is concerned itself, I mean, you really have to put your best foot forward. Buyers are extra picky right now. because there's over 3 months worth of inventory. I used to know August 2019 was the only time we had 3 months worth of inventory, and now it's been like, a year or so at this point for 2025 and part of 2024. So, putting your best foot forward, getting it staged, getting things, freshly painted, all the curb appeal things that we talk about when we do walkthroughs with people, and just pricing it really appropriately. We're not so much, depends on the property, but we're not in that market anymore where you'd list it and 4 days later it sold for $150,000 over list price. So we're just not in that boat anymore, which is kind of a good thing all around, really. It was too quick of a market. It was too hectic for everyone and too much stress on both sides. Yeah, it's great to get some extra money for your asset, but I think it made it really unaffordable for a lot of buyers. And so in that sense, I think it's more affordable now if we can overcome the conversation about interest rates.
Right, exactly. Um, that's a great answer. But for my next question, from your perspective, what major shifts are you seeing in the industry right now?
Well, it's been an interesting time. I think, with the advancement of technology and the inclusion of AI, I think things are shifting a little bit, which is exciting. There's a lot of opportunity there. I think that, the fear with AI in general across the board with any profession is that it's going to take over our jobs. But I think, um, you know, as a realtor in the industry, I think people need that personal touch. It's one of the, it's the third most stressful thing is moving in life, followed by what is it, death and divorce. So,
Mhm.
I think people still want that guidance and they want that special service. But I do see some things shifting where it's becoming more automated, and that could be good or bad depending on the circumstance.
I see. Are you using any automation yourself?
Not so much. I mean, I have processes on the back end to make my workload more efficient. I really like to have good systems in place. And I love organization. So those are my jams. That's my big thing.
Your eyes lit up.
Um, so yeah, I mean, engineer clients love me. They're like, spreadsheets. I'm like, yes, let's do it. But
Let's make this
uh,
data sing.
yeah, exactly. But I'm not really like I'm not automating anything. I may use AI a little bit if I need some kind of like refreshers on, how to freshen up some listing paragraph or something like that. But
Yeah, that's super cool.
no, I'm not really using too much of that. I use a lot of tech and I've always ran a paperless office. So I was
Hmm.
always kind of on the forefront of those things.
Hmm.
And I'm excited to kind of see where things take us in the future.
Okay, that sounds good. Could you describe to me what systems you do leverage to take better care of your clients with the information that is most relevant to them or just staying in front of them? Like, do you use a CRM? Do you use a newsletter? Like, how do you kind of like, what's your machine like when it comes to gaining new clients and servicing your current clients and then making sure that past clients are, ones that aren't ready yet to do another transaction with you? How do you keep in touch with them?
Yeah, well, I'll admit I'm pretty horrible at that because I feel like I'm one of those realtors that's like, oh, people don't want to hear from me. But I do, I have a lot of clients that are groups of friends or that are families. And
Mhm.
so they're easier to keep in touch with. We have some inside text jokes and text chains and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm also a performer. I'm a musician and a recording artist, and so I'll invite people to my shows. We kind of keep in touch in the non-traditional ways.
Hmm.
I'm not much of a writer, so I don't do like the newsletter or blogs or things like that, but I do love to do a good social media post, kind of keep people um, in the know of what's going on in the real estate world. Sure, I could probably post more, but I'd rather kind of like have those personal touches, so I reach out directly
That makes
predominantly.
sense. And when you have such a
Hmm.
core group, it's just natural you're probably getting referrals left and right,
Yeah.
right? And your business just kind of cruises, right? So you're doing
Yeah,
good
the
so
the
far,
majority of
obviously.
my business is word of mouth and friends and family referrals. Hmm.
Yeah, I can tell. I really like your LinkedIn cover photo, by the way, when I was, trying
Oh,
to
great. Yeah.
dig up some information. I'm like, this one's a creative one for sure. So,
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
that something
definitely.
that, I mean, just because it's so pretty to me, was that photo you just like took from online, or is that something? that's specific
Yeah,
to?
it just drew my eye. I'm a
Oh,
big
okay.
color person,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
seeing here, but like, yeah, I love color. I love, artsy things. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Portland. Like, I like to keep it professional, but also like
Yeah. A little
more
flair.
personal.
It's
Hmm.
not just the basic Portland Bridges background like I
Yeah.
have.
Oh, I have them too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, you don't want to be pegged by one certain zone when you can service the whole area, you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Right.
um, speaking of your clientele, do you feel like you have a certain niche or some area that is kind of your hub, or what themes do you have the clients that you serve?
Yeah, definitely. I took a hard look at my clientele a few years ago just to kind of see what sectors were popping up.
Hmm.
For me, my niche is that I work with a lot of creatives. From people who are looking for a space for recording studios or maybe selling a property that has a recording studio built in. All sorts of creatives from the movie industry, television, film, and music altogether. And then I also, on the flip side, work with a tremendous amount of engineers. Like I said, engineers and I get along like peas and carrots. Like it works really well for me because of how organized and how my systems flow. And then also medical professionals.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a really strong client base, I would say. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit across the board, but those were the three sectors that really popped up, and it was like, okay, there's my peeps.
so you just naturally connect with your people and then happen to be musicians and
Mhm.
highly efficient individuals, as in like engineers,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, or doctors, specialists, because
Yep.
of your attention to
Yep.
detail and the data, and probably how thorough you are with
Yes.
relaying information that's imperative to them.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, my next question is, are there any things that kind of, I guess, maybe are more time consuming or like challenges you face to optimize your effectiveness and efficiencies during the daytime? Because, like, I mean, it's so easy to just work 24/7, right? But, like, what are some tasks that seem to be, redundant or just take too much time or not really helping you achieve more sales? What would those be?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, a few years ago, I ended up hiring a transaction coordinator. I
Hmm.
love to do all the little paperworky things, and the filing and all that is fun for me. I find it enjoyable. But I think taking that piece off my plate definitely lightened the load. I hired her when I think I had like some crazy amount, like 10 or 15 transactions going simultaneously, and so I was like, I should probably just make sure that all these pieces are flowing correctly because it was a little bit out of my comfort zone at that point.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I think that's what I notice with the more efficient top producers is that they tend to have a transaction coordinator or some sort of an assistant.
Hmm.
For me, I love showings, so I'm not. I do sometimes have to hire a showing assistant here and there, but I like to be there in person. So yeah, that's probably the biggest time suck is like actually showing the property. But for me, that's the greatest opportunity to build trust with the client directly.
I see. Okay. So, let's see. Looking at your business today, is there, and with the new year coming, are there metrics that really matter to you that would deem like 2026 being a successful year or this year being a successful year? Like, how do you measure it? Is the number of transactions or is it a certain like sales goal that you're trying to hit or how do you measure that for yourself? Because it's different for everybody.
Yeah, that's another really good question because I don't approach it from a sales aspect. I'm not as focused on that. I do take a look at kind of what my average sales are. Um, But for me, it's less about the amount of sales and the amount of transactions. It's more about just overall making a comfortable living, of course. I mean, that's the job, that's the role. But also just, helping to facilitate clients moving from point A to point B um, when they're ready, So I have a lot of clients on the back burner who are like, waiting for this, that, or the other thing. So I think it's just kind of there's a little bit of patience involved in there. But again, to be bluntly honest, like yeah, I definitely want to have a comfortable um, income, regardless of how many transactions or where they are or things like that.
Yeah, because once you pay the taxes and all of the dues and the fees, it doesn't feel like a
Yeah.
whole lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Once those desk fees come out and then you're golden after that, you're like, okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, like anything else,
I
you gotta
did.
pay the play, right?
So,
Anyways.
thinking ahead, where would you love to see yourself or your business in the next 6 to 12 months? Like if you had to like hope for the best, what's going to be different or what are you aiming for?
Yeah. Right now, due to the extreme amount of inventory, extreme being 3 months, I
Yeah.
think that for me, I'm focused on buyers right now. I think it's such a wonderful time to buy, and I'd love to assist some people in finding really spectacular homes. There are some
Mhm.
amazing properties on the market right now. They're just kind of hanging out, just waiting for that right buyer. So that's my focus for the next few months. And then, as we turn into late spring, early summer, then I like to shift over to listings. A little bit of both. I kind of like to keep it balanced because I like to do both sides.
That's smart. That's very strategic of you. Because yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like there's deals to be had right now and like you could probably be surprised by what kind of maneuvering you could do negotiation wise for a buyer to get something that they're more than happy with, that it's like
Right.
worth the, payment. But
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, and I'll be really interested to see if this, bill or whatever it is gets passed to do the 50-year loan. Like that will make things more affordable for people for sure, but it's interesting to wrap your head around a 50-year mortgage. I don't know if you've heard about this yet,
yeah,
but
I've heard about it. What I've heard is that, instead of paying 600,000 for the life of a loan, 30 years, it's going to be like $1 million or more to pay on that
yeah,
interest. But here's the other thing is people don't typically keep a house for 50 years.
right,
So
exactly.
if you can get a house right now for a payment that feels comfortable and achievable, you don't have to worry about like, spending more than you're comfortable with on that mortgage. Well, maybe it is making home ownership possible for some circles. So maybe there is a place for it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, after your first house buys your second house. So if you're in there for 5 years, you can pay off a little bit of the balance. You get tax breaks as well, as we all know. And then hopefully maybe a little TLC can up the equity enough that you have a bigger down payment for the next thing, and then it's not so much of a headache. So there could be a place for this, but I think to think that after 50 years, over $1 million you're paying on this house, that's like crazy.
No, it's gross. It's gross. When you look at an amortization table and you see what you're paying
Hmm.
anyway, you're like,
No,
whoa,
yeah,
that's insane,
it is
But
insane. But
we do the
people, they
best we
pay
can not
attention
to
to
pay
that
too
monthly
much.
payment. Oh, sorry. That people pay attention to the
Yeah.
monthly payment. That's what gets people to move forward. At least that's what I've found. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I think just getting it to an affordable state and like you said, most people aren't going to spend 50 years in a home and if they do, well then more power to them, but
Hmm.
obviously they're well not obviously, likely they're going to try to pay it off quicker than 50 years
Hmm.
anyway, so they would cut
Hmm.
their interest anyway. So, it's all about finagling the budget and getting the numbers
Hmm.
to balance out in an appropriate way.
And in another point, I mean, what if you refinance? What if like you gain a
Mhm.
partner and there's dual income and you can refinance and do a shorter term, maybe 20 or 30-year loan instead?
Absolutely. Or what
So,
if
I
you're
mean,
doing, bi-monthly payments on that 50 years? It's not going to take
mhm,
50 years. There's all sorts of
yeah,
options out there. So I think just
yeah,
getting it to a more affordable state in the short term
right.
will be beneficial.
Hmm. That sounds,
We'll
I
see.
mean, I'm glad you brought it up because I was like, when I first heard it, I'm like, that makes no sense for anyone. And then like thinking about it right now, I'm like, you know what, maybe it could, maybe it could. But I feel like that's
Yeah.
the
Well,
lender's job is to really tailor your financial goals with what structure you proceed with, right? So I guess it's just another tool to have in the belt. That's a good way to put it.
yeah, but it's crazy to think about it, right? Like if you're in your 20s, you won't be and you'll be past retirement age when you finally pay off your house. Like that doesn't really make sense,
Oh,
you
but that
know?
average home buyer is
Um,
40 years old now, first time home buyer.
yeah, that's pretty
That was in a
incredible.
news article. So I'm like, wow, yeesh, this is crazy town.
That's great. And think about it. When you're 40s, likely you're going to have a decent chunk of savings too, so, or set up with your, full-time career jobs. I mean,
Right.
there was a period of time where I worked with a ton of millennials, because they're getting these great jobs right out of college and
Hmm.
then having less student debt for whatever
Hmm.
reason and, getting into condos and starter homes. And there's
Hmm.
just so many avenues we can take as home buyers. But I think encouraging people to actually own a home if that feels doable for them, like that they can maintain it. And, we all have to live somewhere, right? So you may as well be making some equity off of your money. And it's your savings account that you get to sit inside.
Smart words you have there. I love it. So, it's almost like the holiday season. Are you doing any client activities, or what do you typically enjoy doing to just engage with your circles, other than just inviting them to shows? Anything extra special?
Yeah, well, I switch it up. I switch it up. So some years I do gifts. This year, because it was top of mind, I sent out an email. Uh, I bring it up in this conversation because it was top of mind because I sent out an email this morning, inviting clients to a couple shows I have coming up. And so, just as a way to like, buy their ticket, like get them in, give them some entertainment, give them something to do just out of the ordinary. I've done pies, I've done wreaths, I've done all that stuff, but it felt like time to shake things up a little bit and do
Hmm.
a different offering. So we'll
Yeah.
see where it lands.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, an event is more memorable than a pie that ended up on the counter.
Yeah, right. Who knows if we're gonna eat it, and it's fun, but just it's more authentically me because that's who I am. So I thought
Hmm.
maybe I'd just give that a go this time around.
I feel like that's just so important as a realtor is just do tasks that feel like it's not a chore that you actually enjoy. I mean,
Mhm.
to be successful, obviously you got to like bite the bullet and like do the things you don't want to do.
Yeah,
But yeah, staying authentic, and it takes a while to find your groove, I think, of like this is like who I am, this is what I enjoy. I mean, actually, you have the benefit of having come from real estate families, so you've had exposure. I was brand new. Everybody in my family is like, "What are you doing?" Like, you're, it's
yeah,
like that's
for
a lot
you.
of risk, and I'm like, I just am not gonna give myself the opportunity to fail. I'm just gonna keep going until something works. So yeah,
Good for
we
you.
made it. We
What
made
did you
it.
do before you got into real estate?
So when I went to college, I went for in apparel design and merchandise management, and
Cool.
then it seemed like the options were to just go to Nike and have like a contractor job or something similar, and I couldn't really afford to take a risk in that way, and so I went into serving bartending for a while until I figured out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I got a job offer in interior design through a friend, but that was the day before I was moving to Arizona. So then I moved to Arizona for a little bit, came back, server bartender. Then I got an aviation data sales job. And as I was sitting in that office looking out the window, and I was like, I shouldn't be here. Like I should be out there, like, enjoying my day, meeting with people. And
Yeah.
I just had to decide, like, I know in 5 years I could do well here, but like in 5 years I'd rather be doing something that I truly love, that has like that is a significant part of people's lives, that means so much to
Hmm.
me. So I just decided to take all my life savings and jump, and I did, and I made it. So and here we are, and I
Good for
just like
you.
I can't like all of the relationships that I've been able to develop as a result, and just like close friendships now. I feel like my family went from this, actually, my pretty big family, from this big to like this big. So it's like really special to have those meaningful relationships. So I'm a happy girl.
Oh, that's wonderful. And then how long have you been? Was Inhabit
Uh,
your first brokerage or were you somewhere before?
No, I think it's been like 6 years, just over 6 years I've been a realtor, so that's good. I've seen lots of things, right? And I've been
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of multiple brokerages. So I ended up at Inhabit because I like the boutique feeling. I like when somebody actually cares about your success, and when I
Yeah.
give them a call, they're happy to answer it. They're happy to offer some support. And I've been in some situations where I felt like such a bother,
Mm.
so it feels like a really good place
Yeah.
where I'm
Yeah, you have to
supported
have that
enough
support.
to feel like I have a backup I have backup, but like I can just do whatever I want. There's no one telling me where to be, what time to be there. I mean, they like it when I show up, but sometimes I got other things going on, and that's all right too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, the work is not in the office, it's out where
No.
the people are, it's where the houses
Uh-huh.
are. So yeah, I feel you there.
So I guess my last question is, do you have any plans for like growing maybe a small team someday? If you do get to the point where you're so busy with clients, like would it be so bad to have maybe a buyer's agent team or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't considered it too much. I kind of have a one woman show, like I said, other than here and there with a transaction coordinator at times and, showing assistance at times, but I'm really hands on. And
Hmm.
so I haven't found that I was really interested in that yet. At this point, because of my tenure, I feel like I could offer some sort of leadership mentorship opportunity, but nothing's really kind of stuck yet.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm kind of just happy to kind of just be my one woman show and ride things
Yeah.
out. I mean, I suppose if people came to me and they're like, I want to partner up, like that could be fun because you're so on your own all the time.
Hmm.
But it would definitely have to take the right fit, the right personalities for a business
Definitely.
partnership.
Right. They'll probably just appear when the time is right. Because
Yeah, totally.
I really do feel like with the rates coming down just a little bit and then the pent up demand, like people have been wanting to make changes for the last 3 years. They just like financially are just like, I don't know if it's a good idea, but I feel like there's going to be a point where things all come back. So I really do feel like maybe this year during the spring, it's going to be people are going to come back that have been sitting for so long, like waiting to make a change. They're all of a sudden to be like, going to be like, oh, we want to write an offer on this house and sell our house. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
it's probably going to happen
that's
to
the
you
hope. Yeah,
quite a lot this year. So, well, I'm
definitely.
excited for you. Sounds like you're doing some really excellent work and, making fun of it, which is really great to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining the
Okay.
podcast. Oh my gosh, you have so many good talking points. Like, you're gonna be able to like post for a month of all these things. So what I'll do is I'll follow up with an email with a link, and
Okay.
then I have this platform because it automatically um, picks out these clips and then has it in a
Oh,
format you can put it either in a YouTube or it's formatted for like Instagram. So it's like the long ways
okay.
or something. So
Oh,
it's a bit,
fantastic.
yeah,
Wonderful.
it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm having so much fun with these conversations. So again, thanks for being a part of it. If you have any trouble with the links,
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah,
Um,
wonderful. Well, thank you for the follow-up and the
yeah,
the social media follow afterward. That's really, really helpful. So I appreciate
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
It was
Well,
lovely to get to talk to you and get to know you a
it
little
was
bit
so great
more.
talking to you. Yeah, it's nice to grow the network too because you never know when you just like need some help or like maybe we'll do a deal together later down the road. You
Exactly.
never know,
Definitely.
probably anyway. So, okay, well, that's
Yep.
all I have for you, Sarah. Thank you so much
Okay.
again. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right. Well, take care.
We'll
Bye-bye.
keep in touch. Okay, bye.